One, two, three. One, two, three. What's up, guys? DD Quad here, and I thought I put together a little team building video to kind of help people who are learning the league how to team build, and also kind of help people who want to play in leagues, just kind of like the thought process, what goes on, and just kind of give some advice for people who are learning how to build. So first, on our spreadsheet we have all of the stats for teams and for Pokemon. So first thing I do is I kind of look at my opponent and see what he has. So looking at Hound's team, or the Chicago Weaviles, I immediately see a lot of bulky mons like Milotic, Crocodile, Amoonguss, Mandibuzz, Electros, Audino, Escavalier. You get the point. He has a lot of bulk. And with bulk comes a low speed. As you can see, he doesn't have much above 80. A lot of his mons are 80, 50s. We have a 20. So immediately I kind of saw that I can kind of get away with having a lot of bulky offense and just kind of having enough speed to outspeed things like Crocodile, or just enough speed to outspeed Mandibuzz, which I kind of thought was a good base to kind of be at. And with the only really big threat was Weavile with that speed, but with that speed I also saw that he has a low defense, so I could kind of get away with maybe just having priority rather than going out all out speed, or just having like one choice scarfer that could kill it. So that's kind of what I was looking at when I saw this team. Kind of some big threats I know from mine, which for those who don't know, just to kind of give you an idea of what I was working with as well. Pull up my team. I mean, so I have a fairly balanced kind of looking team with a lot of good bulk, but also a lot of good offensive pressure, and kind of just some really good utility mons in the form of like Miltank or Clade. Also, I mean, I have a really good mix of Pokemon. Wasn't really my first pick of what I wanted to get, but I feel like all in all, those can work well. So that's kind of what I'm working with. So immediately what I see is Lopunny can do a lot of work. It can really weaken everything, with Escavalier kind of being the only big threat to it that would live a hit and could potentially retaliate with maybe an Iron Head or some sort of bug move. I'm not really sure if he gets a fighting move, but that was kind of something to think out and look out for. Also knew that he had a lot of bulk as well, so I knew I was going to have to weaken a lot of things first. So kind of look at the speed. I decided I could get away with an adamant Lopunny, knowing that as long as I can outspeed Crocodile with the speed investment, I would probably be okay. Because Fake Out can do, I believe, around 50% to a Weavile with Adamant, and after Rocks, that's already 75. And plus, Weaviles typically are Life Orb, so I knew I could get away with kind of just leaving my speed at that. I knew he did have a Zeb Striker at 116, but that also has some pretty poor defense, and I wasn't really worried about that. And also, a lot of my mons can kind of come in and switch on that. So, speed control wise, I felt like I could get away with Lopunny being the man there. Kind of a standard move set with, as far as move goes, that kind of hits everything as it does. With sorry, I'm a little sick, but I knew Escavalier could live a hit, so I would need to get rid of that, just because I don't think High Jump Kick is doing enough. Whoops, sorry. And I know Amoonguss, but Ice Punch should have covered it well. So Audino could have been a threat with Protect, but again, sorry, I wasn't really worried. So I felt I was okay with just letting Lopunny kind of be fairly simple with just enough speed to get by and a lot of bulk to kind of live with those bulky mons. So next up, I went with Roserade, which with Technician HP Fire, I knew would do roughly, I think 90% would be kind of like max attack to a Escavalier. So I opted to go that route with Modest full. Um, Again, with speed, I wasn't too worried about outspeeding much. The only real benchmark I kind of wanted to meet was Crocodile with its 92, and that would be if it was just defensive, which I kind of thought he might go with, just because Intimidate would do a lot to some of my mons like Pangoro and Lopunny, and I didn't really see him bringing an offensive, but I was kind of worried about that, so I'll kind of prepare with that with some of my later mons. And then, so that kind of checks his Cavalier. And then Giga Drain and Sludge Bomb also do a ton of work to all his mons, and kind of can just clean shop whenever he comes in, and kind of can 2-hit KO a lot of big threats, especially after rocks with Amandibuzz. Amoonguss could kind of live too, but again, that's kind of playing a lot of pressure on him because he couldn't Spore, so he didn't have much going for him if he wanted to stay in. So that was kind of my thought process with Roserade. I did consider Spikes over Synthesis, but I was really worried about him wearing me down over time, so I opted to go this route, especially with Black Sludge. I knew I could beat a bunch of his walls. So next up, I needed a surefire check to Weavile, and to a lesser extent, kind of eat up some physical hits from like a Azumarill, or if I needed to, a Scavalier. So I kind of went with like a Rocky Helmet set, and with Thick Fat, just so I could make sure I could eat up anything that Weavile wanted to go for. With this spread, very simple, but at the same time, it's very effective in the way that Low Kick cannot 2-hit KO me from Weavile. So now he's getting Rocky Helmet, Life Orb. On top of that, I could go off for a Body Slam or a Milk Drink. And if he wants to go knockoff, well, then that's just doing even less after he knocks off Rocky Helmet, and he's still getting that chip damage on him. Also, I kind of scouted out Hound's team from his first battle. I kind of saw that he does bring the bulk, which was alarming to me, but at the same time, it wasn't too worried. But he had a lot of toxic mons. Like, he enjoyed using Mandibuzz with toxic. I believe Audino had toxic his first match, and he just had like some bulk going on with Escavalier and Electros. So I kind of knew I needed Heal Bell to kind of help my team out, because things like Lopunny and Pangoro and Regice, even Milk Tank, are going to get worn down by Toxic very quickly, so I couldn't let that stay up too long. Stealth Rocks were key, as I said, which are the most important move of the game, so I definitely recommend every team has this. And that was kind of what I was looking at. So with those 3 mons, I was feeling pretty confident with the fact that I could wall and kill a majority of the team that he could have brought. The only things I was kind of still worried about were Grumpig could be an issue, Zip Striker and Electros, just because of the move pool with like Fire Blast could be an issue, and Volt switching around. So I was kind of worried about that. The Roserade, was a soft check to that. Weavile still had me a little bit worried, just because, I mean, it can get past Miltank eventually, and Ice Shard and just all his moves kind of tore down my team in general. So I decided to go Raichu as my second option, just because, sorry, Lightning Rod kind of soft checked some of those electric types that he has. I could Volt Switch around, and assuming he brought Crocodile, which, again, I was kind of worried about the offensive set, I brought a Grass Knot, and then HP Fire in case Escavalier was still an issue if Roserade went down, because he would be dealing with bulky mons. I also brought Knockoff to help with Electros and Escavalier, because once their AVs are gone, they're not as big a threat. So I kind of brought that. I wasn't really worried about attacking with it, though, as you can see, because I ended up going with a Modest Nature. And now it kind of seems weird to be running a Choice Scarf with next to no speed. But after the Scarf bonus and the 4 speed I did put in, this outsped everything on his team, being Weavile, by 1 point. So I didn't really see a need to go with any more speed. Zip Striker could, like I said, be a threat and run a Scarf, or Crocodile could be Scarfed. But I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't too worried about Crocodile being Scarfed. I did keep that in mind, and I did make sure I had some bulk to eat up a Scarf hit. But if he wasn't Scarfed, then I could just kill with Grass Knot, or at least weaken him. Same with Zeb Striker, where I knew I could switch in if he was Scarfed, where I would prefer they were Scarfed rather than any other set. And then also with Volt Switch, I could do it on most of his things, minus Crocodile and potentially Zeb Striker. Oh, and Goler. I didn't even see that there. That could have been a threat. Anyway, so next up, I decided to go with my Pangoro. Now, originally, I was kind of just thinking, like, I want to break some walls. So I decided to go with, like, an offensive killer that could damage a lot of things. But I saw that a Moongus, Milotic, Mandibuzz, they have really poor offensive capabilities. And I knew if I can get up behind a sub, I could potentially be setting up, as well as the fact, as I said earlier, that he does bring a lot of status moves, so that's something else to keep in mind. So I decided to play around with a substitute set with bulk up, but I kind of realized that I couldn't get everything I wanted out of Pangoro just because it was the low speed, where I needed to be at least around 200 to outspeed Milotic and Mandibuzz. I needed a fair amount of special defense and HP to live like Scald hits behind a sub. So after I kind of messed around and saw that wasn't going to be possible with the EVs that I needed, I went back to, just like I said, an all-out attacking set. But I kind of forgot the moves, which, I mean, I was going to keep Substitute anyway, just because Toxic and Spore were kind of issues. And I probably would have gotten Ice Punch over Bulk Up just for a Moongus and Mandibuzz. But I still seen the match, which we already had. It kind of worked up either way, where if I had Ice Punch, it would have got me similar results. Maybe that could have been game changer, I'm not sure, but I think kind of just playing it as I did, it worked out well enough that it wasn't much of an issue. Sorry. So I was kind of satisfied with that. Like I said, the EVs were kind of just there to eat up any hit. And then after I originally thought this was going to be all-out attacking, so I realized I still wanted something coming in kind of just sweep. So now with this kind of weird Regice set, I was able to get the speed I needed, the bulk I needed, and still kind of have this offensive pressure. Granted, I was relying on a charge beam, which is a good chance to raise my special attack, so I mean, I wasn't too worried, but it's still very unreliable. But it kind of gave me that back kind of core of offensive mons that could break his team, something that could then revenge kill, and then still something that could break and revenge kill with a bulky mon to fall back on. Regice had enough bulk to fall back on, and so did Roserade. So that's kind of something you have to keep in mind when team building for these kind of leagues, where you want this offensive core that can break just about anything on his team, but also have a group of mons that you think can kind of kill and live any hit and kind of stay relevant. Like Garchomp, as you know, is on my team and is also one of the biggest set to know you, but it wasn't really helping me defensively, which is kind of what it's used for. Granted, that's not the best set, but it's still what it's used for mostly. And also offensively, it wasn't giving me much support either. The things like Aldino and Weavile kind of offensively breaking it, and defensively, it was a whole mess. So that's kind of something you need to keep in mind, is that you need to pick out what's going to give you the best chance of living, but also kind of attack. I'm kind of rambling now. So just to kind of show that I have something that can deal with all 6 months, I'm kind of going to run through it. Just so this is kind of something you need to do at the end, where like, okay, Weavile, I have Lopunny to offensively kill it. Miltank can lift some hits, so it's not that big of a deal. Raichu also at half can deal with it. Oh my god, can deal with it. So I mean, again, check Azumarill. I had Roserade that could live a hit and kill and outspeed. Raichu obviously can kill and outspeed. Miltank can outspeed and can live any hit. Assuming he isn't choice banded, I think a superpower most likely can kill. But I knew from experience last game he didn't bring a choice band, so I had a feeling he might play a similar role again. And plus I had Lopunny that could, with adamant attack, fake out be doing a lot. And Regice could probably live any one hit, and a charge beam could probably get the kill as well. So I wasn't too worried about it like that. Milotic next. Roserade could be doing around, I think, 50 with that investment. Raichu can be doing 50 with that, so I wasn't too worried. And plus, Panda could be doing 70. And once his leftovers are knocked off, again, I could be doing a lot of work. Crocodile was something I was worried about, but like I said, Miltank can live a hit, Regice can live a hit, and then my Panda, Roserade, if he's defensive, can kill, and Lopunny could all again kill. So I had a lot of options for him. Amoonguss, Roserade walled for days. Miltank could potentially wall. He couldn't be doing much back, but again, it was kind of just the idea of PP stalling him if I needed to. Panda could set up, and Regice again could live a hit, set up, all that. Mandibuzz, kind of a similar situation where after rocks, Roserade could 2 KO, Ice Punch could weaken it. Obviously had that. So I mean, a lot of threats for him as well. Electros, I kind of had a soft check in the form of Raichu. Whitney could live some hits and get off some body slams. Roserade could live some hits, and obviously Lopunny can outspeed and kill after probably +2, or not +2, but like 2 attacks. Aldino, I have a Roserade, which can obviously damage it. Regice could potentially set up, and Panda can do some nice chip damage on it, where Drain Punch could be probably doing like 30-40%. And plus the fact that after he goes Mega, he can't get back HP, so that was kind of checked lightly. Ask Cavalier, I've gone over to death how I had HP Fire and a bunch of stuff and kind of had lures with Roserade. Golurk, Lopunny could deal with it. Panda could deal with it. Roserade, so like I said, a lot of checks to that. Zebstrika, similar to Electros. And then Grumpig, I had Panda. And then Whitney probably could live some hits, and Regice could set up on it. So like I said, I've kind of showed you how he has all these mons, but for each mon I have 3 different kind of checks or ways I can get around it. So that's kind of something you want to look for, is having, I would say, at least 2. Like you want to have something that can kind of live a hit, and also something that can punish it for coming in. So it's kind of definitely something you want to look for. Like, had I brought Slowbro, he could have definitely walled a lot of things, but I feel like a lot of the things could damage it back, like Weavile, Crocodile, Amoonguss, Mandibuzz. So I hate a lot of things that could punish it. So you don't want to bring things that can get easily punished by your opponent. So you definitely want to have things that can switch in, play around, and I'm again rambling, but that's kind of like the thought process. I mean, I know it kind of seems long-winded that this takes a while to build, but if you want to be competitive in this kind of situation, you kind of do have to put in a lot of time to team build. So I mean, this was obviously kind of, rushed in. This team did very successful. I believe it was a 4-0. So, and Hound's a very good player. So, I mean, I think just you kind of get out what you put in. So, if you're going to put in almost a half hour to an hour of team building, then, which I guess is kind of insane, but I mean, at the same time, that's kind of the results you're going to get where you have something prepped for each one. Where Hound didn't expect Weavile, which I think was kind of silly because now, or he didn't expect Miltank, which then walled a lot of his team because he kind of he didn't realize that it was going to be able to eat a lot of hits, and with Milk Drink, Kill Bell, it was going to wall him for days. So, I mean, it's definitely something you want to keep in mind where when you're team building, you want to be sure you can check every single one. And I definitely, like I said, recommend kind of looking at stats and kind of seeing like, oh, he has a very slow, bulky team that kind of gives me a lot of opportunities to punish him because he's going second a lot of the times. So that's something to keep in mind. If you can get away with running an adamant nature, it's just so much different with the power you can get because kind of in standard play, this is going to be the last tangent, I swear. In standard play, you're kind of dealing with mons that you know are going to be like max speed, or you don't really know what you're going to get. But when you can kind of counter team, you then realize that you don't need to be running like these set like 252, 252, 4. Like I know I did that with Miltank, but like I also did that with you. Okay, but I have like a weird set here where I have just enough speed, and then I have like offense attack. Same with kind of Panda, where I have the speed I need, offense and HP and all that. Kind of same thing with Rosary, which I mean, it's kind of something you want to do where you don't always need to be putting all of this HP. You can get away with maybe, if you know you're going to be only switching in on defensive attacks, maybe invest in that. Or with Raichu, I probably could have got away with, had I felt like knockoff, I needed it for Grumpig more, I could have invested more into attack rather than HP, which isn't doing a lot, but especially against bulkier teams, that is kind of helpful. So it's kind of just something you need to give and take. A lot of people like to play test teams, which it has your advantage. Like you can check, like had I play tested, I would have caught the Panda mistake, which again, kind of could have gone either way. But as long as you kind of know what you're dealing with and kind of how you want to mess around with your opponent, you really just need to take like that solid half hour, plan out the team, and then you're set. So, okay, that took 17 minutes. Okay, wow. If you're still here, that's cool. Yeah, but I mean, I definitely hope this helped. I'm rambling. Oh my god. But yeah, definitely just kind of like I said, keep all this in mind, and this should definitely improve your your battles in general. Like you should definitely, your record will reflect how much time you put in. And I definitely think you should kind of like follow a similar process, and you'll be great. Okay, I'm gonna stop now for real. This is it. Goodbye. I'm done. Okay.